Hi, good morning. So after reading the four crises that were discussed in the Business Practices in Higher Education book, I believe that the pandemic crisis is the most pressing for higher education today. I believe this for a couple of different reasons. The low student enrollment, the cost of tuition that's rising while the economy has not recovered from the pandemic, students graduating and unable to find a job in the industry that they just received their degree in. I've seen that firsthand, like dealing with that, working in the higher ed institution that I'm at right now. So as the pandemic hit, it caused higher education institutions to react quickly and adjust their approach at teaching. And the online approach essentially has stripped the students of hands-on experience with their learning. So students were graduating with their degrees, but not being fully prepared to enter the workforce. A really good example of that is I have a close colleague of mine that graduated with computer science degree. She finished that degree online, but when it comes to like the actual physical part of coding, she struggles. So when she goes to a job interview, yes, while she understands and knows how to do it, it takes her longer and therefore kind of disqualifies her because it doesn't make her as competitive. So the pandemic really took a toll on her learning experience and her overall like success when it comes to that course. While she understands it, she didn't have that hands-on experience because there's not every degree works with an online approach. So the pandemic affected not only higher education institutions, but the students as well. The future is still uncertain as to how we can recover from the pandemic. We start to go up and then something happens and then we just fall back again. And so, the economy is struggling, and I definitely attribute a lot of that to the pandemic. The scenario that was discussed in the Great Mistakes was very interesting to me because I feel like it was a very real life experience, a real life typical situation that American families face. I see a lot of that with the students that I work with right now. Like I work with my students right now are currently juniors in high school. So I have a lot of those students that are like, Miss, like I really want to go here, but there's absolutely no way I can afford to go. And then their parents make just enough money to like disqualify them from any kind of grants or the extra financial support that they don't have to pay back. So I feel like I was able to like really step into that scenario from firsthand experience. I agree that public universities oftentimes prolong students' learning for their actual industry by having them take those required courses, their basics as they're known as. I feel like a lot of students get very discouraged whenever they enter. They just graduated high school, they struggled in high school, they were over high school, and then they go and they essentially go right back into high school learning the same stuff for the first 2 years of school. It discourages them, and then they choose to just quit because why am I wasting all this money? By the time they get into actual classes that are in their industry, they're burnt out and they've wasted so much time and money. The scenario with the daughter feeling like she wasn't competitive enough because her actual school experience was very different from the prestigious school that her colleague or her peer had. It made me really sad because I feel like where I work right now, that's what happens. Like UTEP is known as a commuter school, so we don't have that like the prestigious title to our school, and so I feel like the students that I work with, if they were up against somebody else that went to Stanford, they probably would be overlooked. And even though maybe they would be even qualified, but just the fact that Stanford has that like that extra, they're better. And it made me sad because I feel like that happens a lot. And unfortunately, I don't see that changing anytime soon. The fact that public universities are not focusing on preparing their students to be adequately trained for their field of study, it's troublesome because I feel like that's where the gap in our society is. I love this. I'm excited to do this and to continue learning more about this. So thanks for listening.